Did you know that one question's just one can completely change how a woman feels about you? Not a compliment, not a pickup line, not some polished line from a dating app, but a question so deeply charged with intention, it bypasses logic and sinks straight into her subconscious. Now imagine 10 of those. 10 carefully crafted questions capable of stirring her emotions, igniting her curiosity, making her feel seen, exposed, alive, and doing it without ever having to raise your voice or prove anything. This isn't a trick. This isn't about playing games. It's about understanding the battlefield where real attraction is won, her emotional world. Because while most men focus on what to say to impress her, the man who knows what to ask becomes unforgettable. That's the difference between attention and obsession. Between a man she talks to and a man she can't stop thinking about. The truth is, most men talk to be heard. They talk to be validated. They talk to be admired. But the man who knows how to make a woman speak about herself, and not just the surface-level version, but the hidden version she rarely shows, that man becomes emotionally significant. And emotional significance is the foundation of attraction that lasts. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. True power isn't in the words you express. It's in what you make the other person reveal. Because when someone reveals their inner world in your presence, their mind rewires itself around you. You become the mirror through which they explore themselves. And in seduction, that's where the real influence lies. Most men are busy trying to sell themselves, talking about their job, their values, their confidence, their ambitions. But the man who listens with sharp silence, who asks the right question at the right time, who makes her reflect on something she's never been asked before, he doesn't need to convince her of anything. Her emotions do all the work for him. The questions you're about to learn are not random. They are built on emotional psychology, attachment theory, and the art of tension. They are questions designed to access what she doesn't even fully understand about herself. The parts she hides from the world, the feelings she doesn't talk about, the contradictions that make her human and raw and deeply feminine. You're not here to be average. You're here to stand where most men fall. And that means learning how to trigger her emotional instincts without ever appearing like you're trying. Each question is a quiet invasion, a soft touch to her emotional armor that doesn't demand answers, but invites revelation. It's not about collecting information. It's about provoking sensation. When done right, she'll walk away from the conversation without even realizing what's happened. She won't be able to explain it, but she'll think about you, wonder about you, replay what she said to you in her head, and feel drawn to you without knowing why. This isn't about charm. It's about being the man who causes feeling. Feeling is everything. In the world of attraction, logic is irrelevant. Credentials don't matter. Looks fade. But the memory of a feeling, that stays. And feelings begin with presence, with curiosity, with the courage to ask what others never dare. So if you're ready to stop being predictable, if you're ready to stop getting filtered into the nice but not for me category, then listen closely. Because we're about to enter emotional territory that changes the game completely. We begin with the first question, not the most extreme but the most quietly dangerous. What kind of man is hard for you to forget, even if he was bad for you? At first, it may sound like a casual inquiry, but it's not. It's an invitation into her contradictions. You're not asking about her ideal man, you're asking about her addiction, her weakness, the man who touched her soul, not with kindness, but with chaos, the one she still thinks about, even if she hates herself for it. And here's the Machiavellian brilliance. You're making her relive that experience with you. Her mind doesn't just remember, it feels. And you're there, quietly listening, calmly absorbing it, showing her that you can handle her truth without flinching. You're not judging. You're not correcting. You're just there, solid, steady, while she pours out something that most men are too insecure to touch. And in doing that, something very subtle, very powerful happens. She starts to associate you with that same intensity, not because you behave like that man, but because you had the confidence to awaken that memory, because you had the emotional composure to stay present while she exposed a part of herself she normally hides. And when a woman reveals something real in your presence, she ties that emotion to you. Now she's projecting that same depth onto you, not consciously, subconsciously. That's where the game is played. But you must follow the rules. Don't interrupt, don't laugh, Don't try to one-up her story with your own. Let the silence breathe. Let her think. Let her memory fill the space between your words. The more comfortable she feels speaking, the more emotionally exposed she becomes. And when she finishes, don't offer advice. Just smile slowly and say, "That says a lot about you. I understand you more now." You've just created an emotional imprint, one she won't shake off easily. Now imagine stacking that moment with the next question. What's the most dangerous thing someone has ever awakened in you? This is not small talk. This is emotional warfare. It's a bomb disguised as curiosity. Because now you're not just revisiting memories, you're stirring instincts. You're making her remember that feeling of being out of control, tempted, shaken, and fully alive. You're not asking for the full story. You're planting the idea that you might awaken something dangerous too. But you say nothing. You just hold her gaze, calm, amused, composed. And she begins to wonder what you're hiding, what fire you're not showing. This question makes her nervous in the best way. She might say, "I don't know if I should tell you this." And you reply without pressure, "It's okay. Sometimes danger is beautiful too." Now she's not just talking, she's feeling tension, feeling risk, feeling accepted for her wildness. And in that emotional gray area where she feels safe and exposed at the same time, that's where attraction becomes addiction. Because every woman has a side she rarely shows, a side she thinks she has to hide to be liked. But you invite it, you welcome it. You hold it like a man who's seen darkness before and didn't flinch. That's what separates you from the crowd. That's what makes her curious. That's what makes her replay the conversation in her head, wondering who you really are. And the deeper you go, the more powerful it gets. Because the next question makes her body part of the conversation, even before her mind can catch up. What signals does your body give when someone starts to attract you, but you don't want it to show? This is a surgical strike on her self-awareness. It's bold. It's intimate. It's psychological. You're saying, without saying it, "I want to know how your body reacts when you lie about your desire." And that provokes something primal. You're not just asking, you're observing. And suddenly, she's hyper-aware of her posture, her hands, her eyes. She may smile nervously, cross her legs, touch her hair, and you'll say nothing. You'll just watch, like you've already seen what she's trying to hide. Now she feels red, not exposed in a way that makes her shrink, exposed in a way that makes her feel seen. And when a woman feels seen without needing to explain, you tap into something so rare, so addictive, that no scripted compliment could ever compete. You're not looking for her to say she's attracted. You're making her show it, involuntarily. That's influence, that's control. That's where the dynamic shifts, because now, every time she sees you, her body will remember the moment you made her conscious of it, and it won't be able to hide it anymore. Let's take it further. The next question reaches for the most protected part of her identity, the one thing she only shows to someone who earns it. What is your most secret weakness, the one only someone truly special could discover? This is no longer seduction. This is intimacy disguised as curiosity. You're not demanding vulnerability. You're inviting it. You're saying, "I want to know the part of you no one else gets to see." And if she answers or even hesitates, you've already begun to enter her world in a way most men never will. And when she tells you, don't use it, don't analyze it, just absorb it. And remember, when a woman confesses her softness, she's not looking for approval. She's looking for someone who can hold it without trying to fix it. That's when you become more than a man. You become emotional gravity. You become the space where her mask can fall off and her true self can emerge. That's what no one teaches you. That's why most men fail. They speak. You listen. They perform. You observe. They try to impress. You invite emotion. That's how you shift from just being liked to being unforgettable. Now that you understand the power of emotional access, show the right question can trigger memories, sensations, and desire without ever touching her physically. It's time to go deeper, not wider, deeper. This isn't about asking more questions. It's about moving from emotion to influence. Because once a woman begins to associate you with feelings she can't explain, the dynamic shifts from conversation to chemistry. And chemistry, when deliberately stirred, becomes control. But not the kind of control most men chase. Not dominance, not submission, something far more subtle, something far more addictive. Emotional leverage. The ability to move her without ever needing to push. The ability to trigger anticipation, silence, and longing by simply existing in her psychological space. You see, this stage is where most men ruin everything. They feel the initial spark, the openness, the honesty, and they panic. They get excited, they rush, they try to cash in too soon. And just like that, they break the tension that made them powerful in the first place. You must resist that urge. You must understand that a woman's desire isn't sustained by certainty, it's sustained by curiosity. If she already knows who you are, if you've already poured out your whole personality, if you've given her the whole blueprint of your past, your trauma, your dreams, your intentions, then the mystery is over. The game is finished. And without mystery, there is no obsession. So what do you do instead? You begin to master the art of emotional contrast. You create moments where she feels deeply safe, seen, connected, and then moments where she feels slightly off balance, slightly unsure, slightly exposed. Not by being cruel, not by playing games, but by showing her that you are emotionally unpredictable in the most captivating way. One moment you're intensely present, asking her something that makes her forget the world exists. The next moment you pull back. You shift the conversation. You make a sharp observation about something mundane. You make her laugh. You break the depth with levity. And just as she begins to relax in your presence, you drop another emotionally loaded question. Now she doesn't know what's coming next. And that uncertainty creates desire. Because desire lives in tension, not in constant reassurance, not in monotone good guy energy, not in predictable patterns. Desire lives in the spaces between emotional peaks and emotional silence, between openness and mystery, between feeling deeply seen and wondering if she's the only one you show this side to. If you've ever heard a woman say, "I don't know what it is about him. I just can't stop thinking about him," what she's really describing is emotional inconsistency done right, not flakiness, not emotional unavailability, but a man who gives her depth and then disappears just enough to let her imagination fill in the blanks. That's how you begin to take up space in her mind. You become the emotional puzzle she keeps trying to solve. And here's where the deeper game begins. You stop asking questions for answers and you start asking questions for imprints. You begin using words not to learn about her, but to create echoes. Because what she remembers most is not what you asked, but how it made her feel. And the more layers you peel back without ever fully revealing your own, the more she feels emotionally naked in your presence while you remain wrapped in elegant restraint. Here's a question that does this perfectly. When you really fall for someone, what scares you the most about how you act? Now read that again. You're not asking about her fears in general. You're asking about her self-awareness when she's emotionally compromised. That's surgical. That bypasses her defenses. That makes her reflect not on love, but on how she loses control in love. And as she answers, she's exposing her patterns. She's revealing the emotional territory where she's vulnerable, irrational, intense. And you're not reacting. You're just listening with curiosity and calm, like a man who's used to being the eye of the storm. She may say things like, "I get too intense," or "I sabotage it," or "I lose myself when I really feel something." Good. Let her speak. Because while she's admitting these things, she's also unconsciously preparing for the possibility that she might feel something for you. And when she does, her mind will already be softened. Because she's told you her truth and now she's wondering if you'll trigger the very reactions she warned you about. That's how you plant the seed of obsession by making her emotional future with you feel inevitable. But don't stop there. Because this is also the stage where you must show emotional depth without emotional need. There's a difference. Most men who ask deep questions do so in a way that feels like they're searching for approval. They want connection too badly. They crave intimacy. They reveal their own wounds too quickly. And that ruins the frame. If you want to be unforgettable, you must master restraint. You must be willing to hear her most intimate thoughts without needing to match them. You must be the emotional mirror, not the emotional echo. That means when she says something raw, something fragile, something personal, you don't rush to match it with your own pain. You don't say, "Yeah, me too, I went through something similar." You let the silence stretch. You let the gravity of what she shared hang in the air. You nod. You acknowledge it. You say something simple like, "That explains a lot," or "That's a heavy thing to carry." And then you change the subject, not out of coldness but out of emotional sovereignty. That unpredictability makes her chase your inner world, because now she's wondering what you're hiding, what you feel, what you would say if someone asked you the same question. That's how the roles flip. She begins to ask you the kind of questions you were asking earlier. She becomes the one who's curious. She becomes the one who leans in. She begins to emotionally invest. And once that happens, once she begins to pursue your depth, you've already won. Not because you manipulated her, but because you respected her emotional intelligence enough to engage it at the highest level. Most men will never understand this. They're stuck in a loop of performative masculinity, either trying too hard to be dominant or pretending to be sensitive for approval. You don't need either. You need presence. You need emotional discipline. And you need the ability to create moments that feel unscripted, unforced, and unforgettable. Moments where she doesn't know whether to feel exposed or safe, nervous or intrigued, comforted or challenged. That emotional paradox is where real seduction lives. Not in words, not in looks. In the feeling of being pulled towards someone without knowing why. And if you can master that, if you can learn to hold a woman's full emotional range without losing your own center, then you will become the rarest kind of man. The kind she never saw coming. The kind she can't explain. The kind she dreams about long after you've left the room.